significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue to the next week.
The federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota coming to an end as U.S. Border Czar Tom Homan announces agents are leaving the state. Good evening, I'm Laura Lee.
And I'm Dan Wolf. Thanks for joining us. Trust but verify. That was Governor Walz's reaction today to Homan's announcement, adding that Minnesotans are beyond ready for ICE to go.
Homan credited productive conversations with Minnesota state leaders for the decision to draw down agents.
The state officials, meanwhile, remain critical of the impact DHS's presence has had on residents and businesses and expect the feds to follow through on the drawdown plans for now.
We'll see over the next few days. We are in a trust but verify phase. My word to Minnesota is, again, we're certainly not going to celebrate something that should have never happened.
And closer to home, despite Operation Metro Surge nearing an end, local activists aren't slowing down.
And Northern News Now's Kyrie Johnson spent the day hearing from local rapid response organizers about what this news means for them.
Since November, thousands of Minnesotans have participated in constitutional observer training, learning how to document the actions of ICE. But despite hearing an end to Operation Metro Surge may be coming soon, these organizers aren't letting up. About a month after protests like these in Duluth, Twin Ports rapid response leaders say their mission is growing. Data collected from organizations like theirs across the state shows nearly 30,000 Minnesotans have trained as constitutional observers, a 12-fold increase from 2,500 in November. Organizers attribute the surge to the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy.
We've had over 700 people in Duluth alone trained for this. We were quite inspired by ordinary people just came together in community to stand up for their neighbors.
Constitutional observers have been trained in 77 of 87 Minnesota counties, showing up amid ICE activity to ensure constitutional rights are upheld. They aim to watch, record, and bear witness without intervening.
Everyone was so traumatized by what's happened in the Twin Cities and wanted to prevent it from happening here.
Despite indications that Operation Metro Surge will soon end, organizers aren't stopping.
There's a little bit of a sense of hope and a little bit of sense of relief, but we don't really think that it's the end.
They argue that even if agents leave, people will benefit simply from having completed the training.
Even if we never use our constitutional observer skills, we will be a tighter community. We will be a community that will be more welcoming, more loving, more happy.
I'm told local trainings in the area will continue regardless of ICE departure. In studio, Kyrie Johnson, Northern News Now.